Inevitable, by Zachary Cox, published by Soul Muppet Publishing, is a narrative ttrpg about playing as knights and wizards in defense of the kingdom of myth, but it's now in its waning days, and a prophecy has spoken of its fall. It will happen, there's nothing you can do, you seek to defy fate anyway, myth will not fall while you bear arms, you will fall, but as long as there's still stories, people will sing of you. So how does the game actually works? Well, first thing first, you gonna want a bunch of d6, a campaign of Inevitable is separated into quests, each with its own categories. First is world quests, think of it as side quests that, if not dealt with, will have negative impact on the citizens of myth. This also does not aid in preventing the destruction of myth, but it just might slows it down in a way. Second is the Doom quest, where the cotter, that is, your team of knights and wizards, must find a way to defeat, or more than likely, delay, and there's 6 dooms in total, the Cannibal Saint, the Tower Wizards, the Great Drake, the Thronebreaker, the Raven Claimed, and the Warlord. Finishing a Doom quest will earn you a Fall token, which will be useful in the Fall quest. But taking the Doom head-on will be difficult, which is why there's the third, the Stepwise quest, quests where the cotter gathers strengths and degrades the Doom, step by step, earning showdown tokens that can be used to hopefully defeat the Doom in a showdown. And finally, the Fall quest. The goal of Fall quest is to stop the fall of Kingdom of Myth. The entire campaign is the Fall quest, and it ends with a final showdown between the forces of myth and the last Doom afflicting the kingdom. You will most likely die here, if not already. In essence, much like in a Western, the game is all about building up towards a final showdown. The stepwise quest builds up towards the climax of a Doom quest, and each Doom quest serves as a build-up to the final showdown of the Fall quest. But how does it work really? In every quest, there's a threat. At the start, there's a setup, a scene-setting encounter where the cotter arrives at a location, learn about the threat, and its implication to the safety of myth. Then, the build-up begins, whether that's the search for intels that can defeat the threat, finding allies for the upcoming fights, defeating enemies between you and threat, or that the threat is hidden and thus you have to find out its true location. The build-up scenes and encounters usually have a challenge, allowing the cotter to earn showdown tokens to let them defeat the threat. Then, at the end of the quest, a showdown occurs between a member of the cotter and the threat. You roll a single dice, and the quest ends. If you heard me saying the word build up a lot in this intro video, that's because the book really loves using this word. There's no other way to describe the vibe the book is going for. Anyway, throughout the quest, there's really only 2 things you roll dice for, challenge, and showdown, where showdown is the fight between you and the threat, challenge is for almost anything else, whether that's an actual shootout against goons, a match of wits in an argument, or other mental, emotional, or physical ordeals. Before rolling against a challenge, a consequence is established first, whether that's physical or reputational injuries, losing support of an ally, or earning the ire of a foe, thus increasing the threat for an appropriate quest. Both the GM and players agree on the consequences together, and if an interesting and appropriate consequence can't be made up, then there's no point for a challenge. This is the key point here. Inevitable is primarily a narrative ttrpg, so even consequence should push the stories forward. You are the knights and wizards in service of the king, your failures will be felt far and wide, and your legend will be told for as long as there's people. A dice pool is then built up, and rolled on the table. Basically, just pick the highest d6, and, remember the consequence of the challenge, because for the most part, you will be suffering it. Even when rolling a 4 and 5 to succeed in the challenge, there's almost no way to avoid it. It's almost like there's a prophecy saying you will fall in your duty or something. The modifiers for the dice pool are for the most part, something you can expect, appropriate addition or minus with appropriate reputation or equipment. Then there's a couple that's quite interesting, that is, you can gain a d6 by putting yourself in danger to succeed, and lose a d6 when you are alone. On the latter modifier, obviously, this is just the game's way of telling you don't be alone. Stupid, but considering the theme of the game, more than likely, someone will end up in a situation where they are alone because everyone else is dead, but then you can negate the loss of a d6 by putting yourself in danger. I like it when game mechanic tells a story on their own, though if you fail when you take this option, the threat of the quest will increase by 1, and that can be really bad because of something I will explain soon. Now, showdown, at the end of a quest, is the threat. A threat is denoted by a number to represent how tough they are to go down, ranging from 6 to 18, and 18 is what you will be dealing with if you are really unlucky, which is most of the time. I want you to keep that in mind, and then look at the dice you will be rolling, which is a single d6, and you don't get a single modifier from your reputation, equipment, anything, but a cost, that can go up to a +5 in increasing level of consequences. This all adds up to 11, to say that you are fucked is an understatement of the century. Also, rolling a 1 will always fail even if you can theoretically pass the roll, so already before anything else, you have a 16% chance of immediate failure. All the odds are practically against you, but luckily, this is where the showdown token comes in. This decreases the target you need to pass, with the target being the threat minus by the amount of tokens your cotter got. However, this only lets you have an easier time defeating the threat. It doesn't make it any easier to not suffer the cost, as you have to roll completely over the threat to not suffer the cost, meaning, at certain level of threat, costs are simply unavoidable, and if you fail, you can still do a second showdown plus 1 showdown token, but you will have to establish a new cost to roll with. So, what exactly is cost, and how severe they can get? Well, the very first one listed is your death, so we are off to a good start already. Much like how a challenge requires an established consequence, you cannot roll a showdown without a cost. Otherwise, are you even dealing with a threat? There's no number here on the listed examples of costs, because the severity of a cost is proportional to the danger of the threat. Earning a negative reputation by using underhanded tactic might work as a cost against a single powerful human threat, but when you are fighting an army knocking on the door of the kingdom of myth, the cost must be something much more staggering. Sometimes the cost can also be just as simple as increasing an appropriate threat's number, which you really don't want to happen. Anyway, let's explain why you don't want that to happen. When a threat exceeds 18, the game is now in the endgame. A battle of epic proportion is about to occur, and an epic proportion of casualty is about to happen. Here, you don't just have to succeed against a near impossible odd, you also have to succeed it 3 times, and the cost to even get a remote chance to succeed is cataclysmic, apocalyptic, dealing permanent damage to the kingdom even, and there's practically zero thing you can do to avoid the cost, especially when rolling against a goddamn 18. After succeeding it 3 times, congratulations, you survive. Anyway, the game continues. All other doom decreases their threat by 2, good luck with the next one. But you said it was the end game. Yes, it was the end game. Against 1 doom, you got 5 more to go. This entire ttrpg can really be summarized as damn this prophecy got hands. It's so mean, good God, the odd is absolutely not in your favor at all, Jesus Christ, but thankfully, there's a slightly easier way of defeating doom, that is, by succeeding in your stepwise quest so well that you earned a number of doom tokens, which is just reflavored showdown tokens, to be more than 1/3 of a doom threat. You can then selectively triggers endgame this way, which still works the same, but now hopefully the odd is massively in your favor instead. But fail at this part, and the threat of all doom will increase, so, better hope your luck holds out in time. In summary, here's how the whole things work. You go start a stepwise quest, earn showdown tokens to defeat the threat, finish the stepwise quest, earn doom tokens from it, then repeat until you get enough doom tokens to finish a doom quest, hopefully before a doom goes endgame and slams down your front door instead. Then, if you manage to defeat 5 dooms in total, you can now use fall tokens earned from all the completion of doom quests to perform one final showdown against the last doom afflicting the kingdom. Congratulations heroes, you merely delayed the destruction of myth. The prophecy remains true, so you know, no pressure. One last thing to talk about, in Inevitable, you can play as 6 different classes: Errant, the valorous skilled swordman and gunslinger; Mystic, wizards of myth that can bend their words into spell; Godsman, those that follows a god and lead the faithful; Taleweaver, the storyteller that might just ends up in a story of their own; Roamer, bandits and rangers of the wilds; and Shadowjack, a thief, a rogue, a freeblade. In each class, you get to select different choices and great deeds to set up your background that can be used by the GM for story purpose later on, equipment which can prove helpful in related challenge, including magic gun that fires bullets propelled by horse piss, and abilities, powerful narrative bending abilities that let each class ignore or overwhelm a preset rule and mechanics just by them existing, something to help even the odds a little. And finally, reputation. Every character has 3 reputations. For NPC, these are more how they act. For the players, these can be directly used to influence a challenge roll, both positively and negatively. You have to pick reputation for your character based on 3 things you will be remembered with: a reputation you earned with your great deeds, a reputation for why your contact holds you in high regard, and a reputation for why your rivals hate your guts. Essentially, You get 2 positive reputations and 1 negative reputation given to you by your rival, unless you play as Shadow Jack, in which case all your reputation is god-awful. The use of reputation as the keyword here is interesting. Your characters are heroes, larger-than-life figures that will fall in defense of myth, but people will tell stories and legends about you, from your reputation alone. It might not even matter who your character really is like. An errant is expected to be brave, mighty, and respected, a mystic is expected to be wise, sagely, and perceptive, and a Shadow Jack is expected to be a piece of shit, a greedy asshole, and can have the largest impact with the most subtle action. Go along with the flow of your reputation, and your character will be victorious. Fail to do so, and the people wonder who you really are, which can be one of the consequences you suffer, causing you to add, remove, or change your reputation as your position in both society and mythology changes. In fact, these are probably the only malleable part of your character. You won't get new equipment, nor new ability. At the start of the story, your characters are already at the height of their power, and it's only going to go downhill from here. So go on, knights and wizards of myth, aim true in defense of the kingdom, fight an unwinnable battle, and most important of all, be true to yourself, and let the people know who you really are. And that's basically it on Inevitable, a game about being a team of disastrously sad cowboy knights that will fail to stop the apocalypse. Not often does a ttrpg just outright tells you that you will almost 100% fail in what you will be doing, so try your best anyway. The math in this book is absolutely brutal. Everything just indicates to you that you will fall even in the best of the circumstances. It gives a very different vibes compared to most other stories about fighting the apocalypse, that's for sure. Sometimes, there's just no safe bet, no guarantee, but to accept failure means you have already lost, and sometimes, you just have to try, even if all you are doing is pushing to the next day, and the next, and the next, and so on. Sometimes, that's just what living is. Anyway, you can get it now on itch.io, or Soul Muppet main website itself, both PDF and hard copy. If you still don't quite understand the rules, there's plenty of example plays in the book, and a free quick start rule to try out. That's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe and click that notification bell button. If you want to see the videos early as well as further support my channel, you can join in my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.